Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you all for joining us this morning for a data exchange machine monitoring webinar titled Getting the Most Out of Your Shop Floor Dashboards. This morning's webinar is going to be covering the real-time and historical dashboards that you can find in the Data Exchange machine monitoring platform. For those of you that are new here, we do one of these on a monthly basis about some sort of data exchange related topic. The first thing that I'm going to do for this webinar is go over the order of events for this morning's webinar, including what are the Scytec DataXchange dashboards, the Scytec DataXchange dashboard types, how Scytec recommends you use the dashboards that are included in the Data Exchange machine monitoring platform, the endless configurability of your manufacturing dashboards, the RTV and how to set yours up to show meaningful data, and upcoming improvements in the current data exchange release. So what I'd like to discuss first is what are the Scytec Data Exchange dashboards. Scytec Data Exchange manufacturing dashboards are real-time and historical visual interfaces that display key performance indicators and metrics related to production processes. They aggregate collected data from machines, sensors, external systems, and operators to provide a centralized at-a-glance view of operational performance, such as equipment utilization, machine downtime, OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, part counts, cycle times, and more. And what you're looking at right here is a downtime detail RTV screen that I'm going to be discussing later, showing different views such as Pareto charts, equipment statuses, target utilization, and more. So what are the Scytec Data Exchange manufacturing dashboard types? There's two main ones, and they are the equipment view as well as the real-time viewer RTV, but we also have a real-time list and a equipment summation list. So the first one that I'm going to be going over is probably the most used, which is the real-time equipment view. And the equipment view is a browser-based set of equipment cards containing charts and equipment information updated in real time. All information displayed here is configurable, and there are many options to enable or disable as desired. The equipment cards group together multiple types of data by equipment. The equipment view is a powerful tool for monitoring the shop floor. This card-based view allows for a wide variety of customization while focusing entirely on the specific equipment relevant to the monitored location. And this should be of note for those of you that are either long-time or somewhat new data exchange users that the equipment view is only inside of the mobile and browser-based data display reporting tool. So what makes up a card inside of the real-time viewer? So the first thing I'd like to discuss is what's over here screenshotted on the left side, which is the current values. And the current values are selectable in data display filtering. And it is what then populates over here on the right in the equipment view card. So what we are looking at over on the right is a piece of equipment, and this is a laser cutting machine. So at the very top, we have the equipment name showing that it's a laser, followed by the general status, showing a very kind of broad, high-level view of the general statuses, including what's in there in green is if you're cutting, the yellow/orange kind of that you see next to that is unknown downtime. Next to that, we can see the 0%, that box. Blue, that is the percentage of time that your machine has been in breaks. And then at the very end, we see in that red box, the 32% is the unplanned downtime. And then underneath that, you can see that those percentages either broken up into a pie or donut. What you were looking there is the donut. And then next to that, we have the specific statuses. So showing a little bit more granular detail into the equipment statuses. So what we can see over there on the right is that 53% of our cutting has been in normal. And then 1% of that normal cycle status or high-level status is also in low override, which then makes up that 54% that you see up there. And then also you can see 14% of that chart there showing unknown downtime, as well as the no material, making up that 32% for the unplanned downtime. Now, the current values that you can see screenshotted over there on the left can all be turned on and off with those little toggles that you see. Those will populate the current values section that you see over there on the right. And this can show you things like general equipment and specific equipment statuses, when they started, the specific duration of both of those statuses, utilization percentage, part numbers, program numbers, work order numbers, and so on and so forth. So if you turn those on and off, they will then populate over there that you see on the right-hand side next to the current values, showing things like the specific equipment status, how long that status has been going on, part numbers, work orders, etc. Underneath that, you have your target utilization grid. So you can set utilization rates for different machines. So those little blue balls that you see there on the chart that you see, that is setting your equipment target utilization at, we'll say, like 80%, and then showing the indicative if you are meeting those utilization rates by showing yellow, you're getting kind of close there. Red, you're way off. Green, you are achieving more than your utilization rates. And you could see that in that little red ribbon bar going from left to right with the 68 and 70s, that we're getting kind of close to our wanted utilization rate. Next to that, we have the 37 and 21. We are way off base. And then at the very end, you see the 300s with the green showing that we have achieved our utilization and then some. Underneath that, we can also see our shift history, showing us the amount of good and scrap parts that were produced in a given day. So on December 16th, we made 29 good parts, showing that in that little green section there. And then underneath that, we have one scrap part, showing that on December 16th, we had one scrap part. Next up, I'm going to be going over the real-time list. And the real-time list is a web-based grid displaying up-to-date information about equipment statuses and other information. Each of the columns can be shown or hidden, allowing the view to be configured based on the data that is being collected. Now, basically what this real-time list is doing is showing us the same information that I just showed you in the real-time equipment view, but in a more streamlined manner, where you can see things like we have a Siemens 840D that has been in an unknown downtime for about 150 minutes, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of meant for something that you could show more on a smaller device like a phone, where you can see this real-time equipment status in a more streamlined way that doesn't show the equipment cards that I just showed on the previous equipment view. Next up, we have our equipment summation list, and this is a new offering that we have inside of the Data Display Launchpad. You can find this right next to the real-time list in the equipment view, which you can see there in that blue square. And the equipment summation list displays the total amount of status for each time selected machine, as well as totals for part counts and numerical custom variable values. The list can be viewed historically and can be used as a real-time view as well. So down there at the bottom, we can see the kind of total amount of statuses for things like our laser, our Akuma, our punch machine as a Doosan, showing that we have these kind of totals for in cycles, planned downtime, normal cycles, low override, high override. And then at the very end there, we have our custom variables. So where are these located? So if you're familiar with the browser-based reporting and mobile-based reporting tool, Data Display, you can find these on the Launchpad under the real-time dashboard section, where you can see all three of those that I just discussed. They are available on the Data Display Launchpad. Next up, I'm going to be discussing the RTV, the real-time viewer, and how to set yours up to show meaningful data. So what is the real-time viewer? The Scytec DataXchange real-time viewer is a configurable dashboard which is designed to show data in a variety of formats. The data is automatically refreshed approximately once a minute, providing the most up-to-date information at all times. So what I'd like to do is kind of go over what the kind of like user interface for an RTV screen looks like. And what we are looking at right here is a RTV screen showing us alarms. So the one that you see there at the top, next to where you can see the word specific view. This is an alarm grid showing us the equipment names. So we have Makino, Mazak, a Fanuc 31i, a PLC, a Siemens 840D, and then what kind of alarms have been collected. So the alarm types, the alarm codes, the alarm description, the duration, quantity, and some other stuff can be shown there in that alarm grid. And then you can get other specific views inside of a RTV screen. We also have alarm Paretos by time and by occurrence. So if you're familiar with the Pareto rule, the 80-20% rule, showing that going from left to right down there at the bottom by the alarm Pareto by time, is that we have different alarm codes. And if you eliminate those alarm codes based off the 80-20 rule, that you should really be seeing some improvements in your shop floor processes. So we have Paretos by time and by occurrence in this specific screen. So going in kind of like a clockwise motion, the current screen that you see up there in the top left corner is what you are looking at now. You can access all of your RTV screens with that little arrow that's pointing down there. But then you have your screens in rotation in the rotation function. So the little ribbon bar that you see there with all of the different RTV screen titles, including alarms, equipment statuses, and the corresponding numbers, you can set your RTV screens to basically rotate on given intervals that you determine, kind of like a Chiron for your shop floor performance. So you hit that play button over there, it'll go from left to right, rotating in and out at given intervals, showing you each one of these views that you configure. So some common RTV views, and some of these come pre-canned inside of DataXchange from the get-go to kind of get you started with your machine monitoring journey very easily. But these are some common RTV views, and the first that I'm going to be discussing is the downtime detail. And this shows downtime reasons, Pareto charts, and it can be split up into different views based off equipment and or user groups based off of your production facility. Next up, we have the alarm that I just went over. We have our OEE grid that shows the availability, performance, and quality and targets you set for your equipment. Next up, we have our equipment status summary. And this is going to be showing things like a timeline chart for equipment statuses for shifts, employment grouping, or physical locations. And I'm going to be showing you a couple of these as well to see kind of what they look like. One of which includes the shop floor layout. This is a very common RTV view. And you can use any image that you like, but what's very common is that we have a top-down schematic of your production floor that shows the current values and statuses of your machines. We have a parts view, which shows grids, including the current part number being worked on, as well as parts per hour percentages, plans, and your actual parts per hour that you have been producing. We also have a utilization view inside of the RTV that shows current statuses of machines, shift summaries, and target utilization for equipment. And this will show you if your production needs are being met. And then finally, we have a web browser view, which is a common RTV view as well. And this web browser screen can show things like web pages such as employee portals, Microsoft Office documents, Power BI, Tableau, and more. So this is a common RTV screen, which is our shop floor layout. So if you think about a kind of a top-down schematic view of what your production facility looks like, this would be shown in the shop floor layout. And you can use any image that you like inside of the shop floor layout. But what we kind of recommend here at Scytec is that you use a top-down view like this. So if you go in a kind of clockwise motion, you can see that we have a Mazak machine up there. And the green that it is showing that the Mazak machine is cutting currently, and the part number that is currently being worked on. Next to that, we have a Morisaki machine that it is in a planned downtime, and that specific downtime is a break, as well as the part that is being worked on that as well. Below that, we have a Haas machine. It is cutting, it is in cycle, and so on and so forth. So those current values that I described to you earlier inside of the real-time equipment view, all of that information that you can have in that filtering can then be populated that you see here next to your machine. So you can think about this like a bird's eye view of all of the machine statuses and production metrics that you are looking for inside of your facility. And you can achieve this with the shop floor layout. I went over the RTV as the alarm view inside of the RTV as well. But yeah, this is also a very common RTV screen showing you all of the different alarms. And then finally, we have our utilization view, which can show you things like a 24-hour summary of all the different machine statuses and the corresponding status types that you can see over there in that bottom left screen, showing things like, how much of a given time frame your machines were in alarms, blade changes, brakes, high and low overrides, M0, M1 pauses, no material, cutting, setup, tooling, unknown downtime, so on and so forth. And then you can also see utilization grids as well, like what I talked about with those blue balls, where you set your utilization rates, and then you can see if your machines, which you can see right underneath there, going from left to right, we have a Fanuc, a Siemens 840D, a DMG Mori, a Doosan, etc. And if those machines are making those utilization rates that you have set. So next up, I'd like to kind of talk about the endless configurability of these dashboards. And as I mentioned earlier, you can kind of turn on and off those current values to show things inside of the real-time equipment view that are necessary metrics that you would like to see populating in real time. But for those of you that are, kind of either new-ish to DataXchange or long-time users, you should be aware that we do have a desktop configuration application for designing all of your RTV views. And this is going to be changing here somewhat shortly, and I'll be getting into that later. But for the time being, we do have a desktop application for configuration of your RTV views. Once you have those views configured, they will populate at the bottom of your data display launchpad. So if you've previously already created those views inside of the desktop configuration app, you should see those populate at the bottom of your of your data display launchpad. So inside of the desktop configuration tool for DataXchange is where you will find how to set up these RTV views. So if you look in the center, you will see the little box that says assigning a view. You will find all of these different views to make up your RTV screen. So we can see things that we have, like an alarm grid, the alarm Paretos that I went over, equipment OEE summaries, equipment status for what's currently going on. And you can split these up horizontally and vertically, which you can see kind of behind that box that I just described, where you can see these specific screens inside of your view. So kind of going from in a clockwise motion, we have our equipment status downtime Pareto. Next to that, we have our equipment status downtime summary. And then below that, we have our equipment status grid. These are how you make up your RTV screens. And then once you have that, you can then rotate them through on a TV, which I'm going to be showing you here in just a second. So next up, I'd like to discuss is how we at Scytec recommend that you use your DataXchange dashboards. So what do you need to set up a dashboard? And I'm going to be showing you some examples of this, but what we recommend here is using a Melee mini PC, and you can use really any kind of PC, but what we recommend is over here on the right, and they're under $200, is the Melee mini PC Quieter 16 gigabyte model. And the reason why we actually advocate here at Scytec for the 16 gigabyte model is that Windows has been taking up a whole lot of space. We used to advocate for the 8 gigabyte model, but we now advocate for the 16 gigabyte fanless model. So you will need a TV with an HDMI port that you can plug this mini PC inside of that can run the DataXchange application, as well as some kind of mounting device. I like the tripod that you can see down there at the bottom. You can get these off Amazon for under $100 for some models, where you can mount that TV to that and then plug this mini PC in as well to show DataXchange out on your shop floor. And then you're also going to need a wireless keyboard and mouse. So what does this look like? These are all screen captures from clients of ours that use DataXchange. And what you can see in the very big one there in the center is a bunch of TVs hanging from a ceiling, utilizing the DataXchange real-time equipment view. And then underneath that, you can see some TVs that are mounted to walls using the RTV screens that I discussed. So what does the kind of full recommended use of the dashboards look like? So we have a Haas machine here, and next to that we have the TV on a tripod setup that I described earlier. And then next to that, we also have our operator data interface. So anything that you're, first of all, looking to find out more information on, we have specific webinars on as well. So I have a couple of different webinars about our operator data interface tablet that you see over there on that left side next to the Haas machine. The ODI can collect machine statuses that cannot be automatically collected by DataXchange, such as if like an operator working inside a cell goes on a lunch or bathroom break, or you have like a carbide that breaks or something like that. Your operator can put that inside of the ODI tablet, and that makes sure that you guys have the most accurate OEE information possible. So other devices and locations for dashboard use could be something like a boardroom or a supervisor office for remote viewing, which you can kind of see there with the real-time equipment cards on that TV screen. And your dashboards are also available for data display for tablets, computers, and phones. We have some more screenshots as well of clients who are using the RTV, which you can see right underneath the equipment view, and then an equipment view on both a tablet and smartphone. As we kind of wind down this webinar, I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks for both the equipment view and the RTV. Starting out with first, the dashboards created in DataXchange can be used in any external utility that it can accept and display a custom URL. And the available dashboards include RTV screens, save charts as well, and the data display real-time equipment view. And getting the URL is as simple as going to the bottom of the filter page and grabbing that URL, and then you can paste that inside of any web browser or display application. The only thing of note of that is the browser that you paste this into needs to be Chromium-based, such as Google Chrome. So let's say that you have some job titles that could utilize the equipment view in different ways. So you can do this by turning some of those things on and off inside of the current values that I talked about earlier. But I'd like to discuss how operators could use this, as well as plant managers and supervisors. So operators can use the equipment view to show things such as, the operators are working inside of a cell, can filter the machines they're working with and filter the current values needed. And these can show different users, equipment, and also company groups. For a plant manager who is more concerned with seeing a summary of downtimes and utilization than the immediate status of equipment, could disable the current value section and leave only the historical information. So you can see that we have that current value section turned off while we have the equipment status, target utilization, and shift history turned on. Finally, we have our shop floor supervisor, and a supervisor may want to see current information like the utilization information for the current shift. So they have the equipment statuses turned off and the current values, target utilization, and shift history turned on, displaying that information. Next up, I'm going to be going into some tips and tricks for the RTV dashboards. So setting up the RTV to rotate at determined intervals so you can have your own Kaizen Chiron rotating through your created RTV views at the determined intervals that you make. You can also view live override values inside the RTV. There are a lot of auto settings for the RTV, such as when you log into DataXchange, the RTV will launch automatically and rotate automatically, showing you the default views as well as what you have created for those screens and views inside of the RTV. An unlimited amount of RTV screens can be created as well. There's no limit on any of the different dashboards that you create with Scytec DataXchange. And you also have the ability for a web browser view for your RTV screens, which has the ability to show things like employee portals or Microsoft documents. There is an option for sharing Microsoft Office documents that provides users with a URL that you can then add to the web browser view. And you can also email this link to needed employees, personnel, and contractors. So let's say you have a new machine and you wanted to add that to your RTV screens and charts, etc. There's an option to do that automatically. So if you add a new machine to your DataXchange account, that machine will be automatically added to your plant, machine, and equipment groupings. Your saved charts can also be added to RTV screens. You can hide the ribbon bar for the RTV when it is displaying on a screen. And the number inside of the RTV boxes in the ribbon bar shows you how many different screens there are in a given RTV view. Equipment connectivity to the DataXchange service can also be monitored with RTV as well, showing you if your custom commands are enabled or if your DataXchange service is connected to the cloud. You can also share RTV screens with different users and user groups. And everything that I just talked about here so far in this webinar can be found on our Scytec University website, which can be found at dxhelp.scytec.com. I'm going to be showing you that here in just a second. So finally, whenever we have an update for the DataXchange machine monitoring platform, I always talk about it in the subsequent webinar that I have. So I talked about the RTV designer inside of the desktop configuration tool. Soon that is going to be moving inside of data display. So the RTV historically was found in the desktop configuration application, but will soon in an upcoming DataXchange release be found in the data display mobile and browser-based reporting tool. So as I mentioned earlier, all of your previously created RTV views are available at the bottom of your data display launchpad, which you can see down there at the bottom. And you will have the ability to schedule and send those RTV screens the same way that you can do with your saved and scheduled charts, which if you're interested in that, we have a webinar on that as well. Next up, we had a DataXchange update this month. So for those of you that are, have been longtime users of DataXchange, you know that you can get notifications for, machine statuses or the completion of jobs, really any sort of kind of thing that you're looking for. You can get a notification in text, email, or Microsoft Teams. However, the text message notification has been updated this month as mobile carriers are now phasing out email to text gateway services, causing delays and failed messaging delivery of your machine statuses that you would get those instant notifications of. So to resolve this, Scytec has released an update that enables a more reliable SMS messaging method that can be directly found in DataXchange. So please visit our Scytec University page about how you can update this, or also reach out to our Scytec support. We will gladly walk you through updating this process. So you can see over there on the right, we have the ability to find out about this on our Scytec DataXchange University help website. Finally, I'd like to go over the upcoming webinars that we have coming up in the pipeline at the end of July. We do these at the last Thursday of every month at Mountain Standard or Daylight Time. So at the end of July, we have machines that you didn't know that you could monitor. Scytec DataXchange offers a PLC device that can be hooked up to legacy equipment without Ethernet capabilities, as well as sensors and other things of that nature, where you can just basically be able to monitor everything that is out on your shop floor. And then at the end of August, we will be hosting a webinar about the high cost of manufacturing issues, where we kind of go over why DataXchange is helpful for a lot of different, ideas that are kind of currently negatively affecting your shop floor, including things like changeovers, longer than expected machine setup time, and the lack of historical and real-time data from your shop floor equipment. Finally, I'd like to discuss Scytec University. This is our tool for helping those who are both longtime and new users of DataXchange for things that they might need some help with. And we have user manuals about everything DataXchange related, as well as tutorials and how DataXchange can be used for specific roles and scenarios. So definitely check that out. That can be found on dxhelp.scytec.com. And that about wraps it up for this morning's webinar. We try to keep these anywhere from about 25 to 30 minutes normally. Sometimes we also have demonstrations if we have like an update. So next month, be on the lookout for some of the webinars that I talked about as well. And thank you all for joining us here this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Goodbye.